Welcome, everybody. I am Rochelle, and I am one of the customer success managers at SciTap Pro. So I'm going to be guiding you guys through the resource improvements today. It's our newest release. Very exciting. It's definitely something that a lot of you have been asking for and asking about and popping in some really quality feedback about. So we have been listening and we've listened and put it into play, and now it's starting to take shape. So yeah, very excited to show everyone today what we've got in store for you. Some of you might have already seen it already kind of come to fruition. So you'll see things have changed a little bit in your accounts already. And some of you also might be new to SciTap Pro. So you might be coming in fresh as a daisy and you're just like, okay, show me what's new and what I can get my hands into right now. So anyone is welcome today. If you have other people that you do want to share today's webinar with as well, because you've registered today, you will get a recording of it as well. So by all means, when you need to send it to someone on demand, that will be there for you. And I'll show you some resources towards the end of today as well that you can follow to, again, get all of our other webinars and all our other documents and videos and resources we've got there to support you. Cool. So what to start with is just a bit of an agenda today. So of course, today I want to say hello to you all, intro and say, guys, we're going to learn a bit about the resource management within SciTap Pro today. Then I'm going to show you a bit of feedback insight just to show you kind of who's been giving some information or feedback that's been coming through from our whole community and what we've kind of got in fruition now and what might be coming in the future as well. So that's that part. Then we're going to see it in action. So of course, I'm going to dive in and show you guys everything that we have set up in the system for resources. So exciting to kind of start demoing that. And then I'll talk more to next steps. So some of you might already have a bit of setup with your resources already. And so there'll be a few things we could probably change and just adjust to make sure it's now clean and beautiful the way the feature's built for now. Then we, of course, always have our Q&A section. So gather your questions. Do feel free to pop them into the chat or even the Q&A button that you'll see on that Zoom bar down the bottom. I've got Josh with me over in our panelist team today. So he's going to be jumping in to help me out as well. There he is over there. And so by all means, if you've got any questions, Josh will be nipping away at those while I am demoing to you. But also at the end, he will jump back on with me and we will kind of talk to you as a team. So yeah, ask those questions away because we love to hear them. Even if you guys just want to have chats amongst yourselves, share your stories about how you're using your resources currently or just the system in general. Feel free to have a little chat amongst yourselves through that chat as well. Awesome. And then lastly, like I said before, we'll have a few resources that I will be showcasing to you that you can follow after the webinar to learn more, dive deeper, get all that good, juicy stuff out of our knowledge base. All right, well, let's quickly first start with that feedback insight aspect. So what you've got here is a few graphs just to kind of showcase the different types of resource feedback we've been really gathering or kind of getting from the community in general and what we're really listening to. This is just a few of them. By all means, there is definitely more. Everyone has amazing feedback you guys send us and we love it. So please do let your customer success managers know or support know as well. If there's anything in the system that you're like, oh, this would be really cool if I could do this, or if it had like this little tweak, it would be awesome, or like, we'd love to see this, and then let us know. We can kind of always consider it. So out of those considerations, we've had lots of people come through, obviously, about foldering. So we definitely will be talking about that today with our resources. We've got a few people wanting to drag and drop in stuff while they're uploading documents to the system. Nice and easy, get that ease of use kind of happening. Bulk uploading is another really key one for that. A lot of you might have a heap of first aid certificates to get into the system. So you might want to load in all of them in one hit rather than saving in every single one individually. Custom categories is one that we've definitely had. We want to have being the ability to be able to rename and change things based on what you actually use and engage with your team. Everyone in every company has different lingo and different things they want to do. So by all means, this is going to hopefully really help with that. We don't want to have to require to use the exact same name for every single, or like a unique name for every single thing. First aid certificates is another really good example here, where we might have just a first aid certificate name for all of our users. We don't necessarily want it to have like John's first aid certificate, Rochelle's first aid certificate. So what we can do now is just create the same name for everybody and the assignment might be different. Increasing a file size. I know a lot of you have really asked about wanting to make the files bigger because you might actually have like big health and safety plans that you need to get in there as like policy documents, or you might even have like orientation type training, and there might be a whole course of information that the team need to have access to. So those documents can sometimes be a little bit hefty, and we have now accommodated a bit more file size so you can start to get that into the system as well. Date of issue is an awesome one that people have come through with as well. So I know we definitely, of course, have our certificate expiry dates that we can always keep track of, which is really, really handy. But a lot of you really wanted to start to track the date of issue compared to the expiry date as well. So we've definitely got that feature now available to be able to pop in. Really good for people's training and all that kind of good stuff. Easy. Now that's the stuff that we've definitely made happen for this release. But keep in mind, digital systems are constantly growing. We've always got version 2 and 3 and 4 of different features. So what I've also included here is some feedback that's come through that we are considering for our version 2 of resource improvements. So things like your offline resources. So when you're on the mobile, being able to not kind of have the system, download the resource or see the resource without having to be online. I know a lot of you work in like no service areas, so this is quite an important one for you guys. So definitely something we're considering. Assigning to multiple sites. So if you've got lots and lots of sites that have the same kind of resource, we might want to have that assignment for the same resource across all sites. So you can just upload one. So definitely something we are considering as well for you all. Restricting by permission levels. A lot of you have different hierarchies within your system or within your team that need to only see certain documentation. So we definitely are looking more at the kind of security levels you might want to create within the system based on user roles, and then being able to see the different resources that they get responsibility over or have to be able to see within the system too. And then of course, uploading from mobile. I've had a lot of you come through, or we've all had a lot of you come through saying you love the team to be able to upload a resource from their end on the mobile side. So it's definitely something we're looking into to make sure that we can kind of maybe get some of those subcontractors to be able to load in all of their resources from the mobile side of things. Something like that could maybe come to fruition. Awesome. Okay. So that's a little bit of insight into the feedback. I just really wanted to show you guys because I do want you all to know that your feedback is really valuable to us and we do really listen. So by all means, keep sending that through. If any of you guys have more stuff that you want to mention about resources, especially after you look today, pop it into the chat. We can kind of take that information. I'll be able to send it over to my product team, and then they get more and more insight from you all and what you're looking for in the future. Cool. Okay, so let's actually see this in action. Let's go in and see what's going on in the system. What we're looking at here, just so you can see the difference between the two infrastructural sites that I can see here, we've got the admin console to the left-hand side, just so we can see that management version of it, where we can kind of jump in as admins or managers of the whole system. And then of course, the mobile is here to the right. So this is more of the team's interaction. It's how they see it on their mobile device. So let's start in the admin console, because obviously we want to first start off with setting everything up, right? We want to make sure it's all clean and beautiful and looking great. Now, just to quickly highlight a few things that have changed that are really awesome improvements, you'll see that there's now just a resource library. So a single resource library. Before, we used to have a documents page and a certs and permits page kind of separated. We've now merged them together. And what you can start to do is use filters and different things like that to pull out the certificates as a separate view if you need to. But now everything's all kind of beautifully loaded into one location. And of course, we start to have things like foldering, you can have subfolders, and now that's all really organized in whatever way you need it to be organized. Overall, this is going to make sure that you have a much more seamless, easier to use system for your resourcing or management of your resources. So overall, we just wanted to make it as easy to use as possible. Another thing that's really great is now all of our management of the resources can be from this page altogether. I know a lot of you have loaded in your users training from the users tab. So if we click into the menu, you would have had to click into team and users, open up the specific users and add the resource of their training through that. Now what we can do is just jump straight into the resources tab and start to load it all into here and even make that assignment from this page only. No need to jump around the system. You just go one place. It's all there to do from that location. Cool. So that's a bit of an overview of the few things that have kind of started changing. You'll obviously see a little bit of a color difference as well with the general system. We've made a few enhances of the visuals. So that's a fun little additive that you get to kind of play with and see as well. So yeah, hopefully that is appealing to the eye and you guys enjoy that. Now let's dive into it. So with the actual setup of these specific resources, we of course want to start with the foldering because that is one of the biggest things everyone's been asking for. So what I'm going to do is first we're going to create a folder. So there's kind of two ways we can do this. The first one is under this resource library section, we can click on this little, what we call a meatball menu because it's got the three little dots. So I'll click on that meatball menu and I'll add a folder. This allows me to name the folder. So in this case, I might do site documentation. So I'll add that in. And that's going to add that folder there under the alphabetical order so we know it's all kind of organized correctly. If you need to add a folder from another location, we would just go into the top right here and you can also add those folders from here too. So you've got kind of two places we can start those folders being built from. By all means, when you guys jump in here on your accounts, build as many as you need, delete whatever ones you don't need. You can always click onto the menu bar of those folders that are already there and just click delete to remove them if you need to. So completely up to you how you want to edit and adjust them. But you now have the custom wording, which is catering to that categorization custom wording. And then we also can now create the folders that we need. So site documentation, I've got this here. We're like all good to go. We've got that site documentation folder. I might want to add another kind of subfolder. So what I would do is I might do emergency plans. And I'll save that. Now, as you can see, emergency plans has been created. So I can now actually have that as a part within the site documentation. You'll see this little arrow kind of showed up next to the site documentation folder. If I click on that arrow, you'll see my little subfolder start to show up under it. So really nice that we can now branch it out so we can actually find like a little river as to where we want our documents to flow into. So within the emergency plans, now what we want to do is add some files. So it's currently empty, obviously. We want to get some files in there. As you can see from this icon here, when we've got nothing in the folder, you can just drag and drop those files from your Windows or your computer kind of filing system and just drag that document, pop it straight in. So nice and easy to get it in there. Alternatively, what we can start to do with those individual files is upload it from the button at the top right. Of course, from here, we can just click upload and it just is open up our general section of information or files that we have. I might jump into like my resources folder and I'm going to go specifically into my sites one. I've got this emergency plan that I wanted to link in. So I'm going to open that up and it's going to now give me the addition of this emergency plan. Now to break this down a little bit, you have got a few fields that we can start to work with that have added now compared to what we used to be able to add. So first off, emergency plan is all I need to put in there. I don't need to necessarily say which site it's going to be because I'll show you how we're going to assign that to the right site later. Super exciting. So I'll just say emergency plan for the resource name. Then we go into the location. You can see it's already tracked the different locations it's come through. So we don't even need to worry about where that's kind of come from. It's already going to be associated under my site documentations under the emergency plans folder that I had created just then. By all means, you guys can create these folders after uploading the document. So upload the document and then you can create the folders and just literally drag the file into the right folders it's going to be applying to. Cool. So now with this one, we can see that it's not a certificate. This is that option where we can kind of differentiate whether it's just a document or a cert so that we can kind of have those other extra details. If you do put it as a certificate, it will allow you to pop in that expiry date and issue date or by default. But if the certificate or the document doesn't have an expiry date or an issue date, you can just turn that off as well after the fact. But yeah, this one is specifically not a certificate, so I'll keep it as a doc. I don't have any expiry dates or issue dates, so we're good for that. We'll keep it simple. But assignment, I might want to assign it to a site. Now, in this case, you have a few options. So the type first is going to let you choose from equipment, people, sites, or even suppliers or contractors. I know some of you do have your supplier contractor tab a new name or different name. So depending on which naming convention you've chosen for that, and same with sites, that will pull through here as well. So you can see the right thing. Some of you call your sites tab projects or jobs or different things like that. So yeah, you'll see the different type of assignment. In this case, we're going to choose sites. And then we choose which specific item of that we're going to assign to. So in this case, I might do the bungalow renovation. So I'll choose my bungalow renovation from the list, and then we are done with the assignment. Now, advanced settings you can also add, mainly for descriptions of the type of document, certain permit, all that kind of stuff. The resource sharing function is if you want to share this with certain suppliers or contracting companies. So based on the ones that you've loaded into the subcontractor supplier tab, you will see them all listed out here. You might only have some that need to have access to this resource. So you would just choose the ones that actually apply. Or if this resource is by default going to be for everybody, by all means, turn it on for all. Great. Now the last bit is a new thing. So tags. Because we've kind of moved away from categories and where those are now turned into folders pretty much, we have got tags as another option now. It's pretty much so that you can filter on different documents. So maybe they might be in different folders, but we might have the same tag on them so that you can still search by tag and have them grouped together in one kind of filtering system. So by all means, come in here, type in any tags you want. I've created a toolbox one, but you might create as many as you need. And then that way you've got all your folders or your files, sorry, being associated to different tags that you want to pull on later. Awesome. So that is the gist of all of our advanced options. We, of course, have got that kind of information or analytics on the resource we've uploaded as well, just so you know the file name, the size of it, all that kind of good stuff. And you'll also, of course, start to have like, okay, Rochelle uploaded this information. You'll be able to see all of that stuff when you look at the file. Now, that's everything I need. By all means, if you guys want to be changing over any file, you can click on upload new file. We haven't changed that since the last way it was, so we can always flip over different documents and things like that as they update if we need to. And you can, of course, now download the file as well if you need to. Awesome. So saving that, that's the general information we've got. As you can see now in this list under my folder, it's got that emergency plan. It's got who it's assigned to, which is that bungalow renovation site now. And we can see things like it's shared, all of that kind of good stuff as well. If I needed to edit this document, I can go into that meatball menu again, can edit it, we can duplicate it if we need to, we can rename it, all that kind of good stuff. So definitely start to adjust things as you need, and we can kind of go from there. Now, that's creating a folder and then also obviously adding in an individual document via this upload file option. By all means, if you don't want to just upload a random file or just drag and drop it, you want to maybe add a different kind of file that's not just like a PDF from your computer or a document from your computer, click on this arrow down button. This gives you the similar kind of resources where you can have it just as a resource, so like a normal document. If you click add certificate, it's going to automatically assign it to the certificate option so that you can straight away have that done for you. And lastly, you have the web link. So similar to how we used to have, we would be able to add in a web link. Some of you may be aware of this, maybe not. If not, great, you're learning about it and we can use it now. So this web link function is pretty much allowing you to put in a URL. So when we click on this, instead of asking for a file, it's going to ask you for the URL that you want to link in as a resource. By all means, then go across with everything else we would usually do, resource name, location, all that other settings we would do. But this is really, really handy if you have an orientation or induction video that you need everyone to be seeing, or if you've got training videos that you might need to show people or have as part of people's training, then by all means use a URL to pop that in there. Some of you might even have shared drives where a lot of your documentation is sitting currently. So please do use your shared drive link. If you know that you're constantly updating the shared drive with live documents and newer documents, just pop the link in here so that automatically the live new documents will be flowing into SciTap Pro as well. Awesome. So that is the gist of uploading our new documents. We can drag and drop them. We can get them into those folders nice and easy. And we can also build and rename those folders as we please as well. So that is the gist of those ones. Now, how about if you want to kind of bulk upload or get multiple things in at once? I'm going to use my SDS or MSDS, so those like safety data sheet examples here. As you see, I've got a few subfolders where we've got some like asphalt SDS, for example, here. I've also got my cement one. where I've got some certain types of cements that are there too, but my aggregates is empty. So I need to load in some resources here. I've got quite a few aggregates ones. So what I'm going to do is upload my folder. I'll jump into the one where I find it, which is my MSDS ones. There we go. And we've got the aggregates. Now, as you can see, I've got 4 different documents here that I want to load in. So what I'm going to do is highlight all 4 of them, click open, and as you'll see, there's 4 of them showing up here. It will take from the name that you already had in your filing system. So if you want to make sure that the naming conventions are all right, just make sure they're perfect the way you want them in your first folder. And then when you pull it in, it'll just copy that same naming convention into the system as well. Now within this, we know all 4 of them are going to the aggregates folder. So we know that this location is all correct. We know they're not certificates, so that's all good. If you did have unified expiry dates or issue dates for all of the documents you're uploading, you can pop in those dates and it'll apply to all of them. And then from here as well, you can also start to set assignment. Now the assignment, because we've got quite a few different documents in this case, we want to make sure that we've got different kind of groups of people put to it, not just one, obviously. So in this case, we might have the people, and we might use a user group. So we've got the people individually first starting to show. Might move my face out the way. And then we can go down and you'll start to see that there's actually a user group option now where we can assign. So based on the user groups you've built, and this, keep in mind, everybody, you may have user groups available in your account or not. So just be aware of that as well. If you do want user groups so that you can start to do this assignment to different groups of people, by all means, please let your customer success manager know or support that you're keen on that feature, not just for resources. There are awesome other ways to use user groups as well. But yeah, just keep that in mind as a little side note. And let us know if you want to upgrade to get those features. But user groups can be used here. So what we're going to do is we can kind of start to assign it to different groups of people if we needed to. So that's just there if you have to have an assignment of multiple bulk forms in one, or bulk resources in one hit. Cool. Now I'm just going to save that one off because I just need to add them all to this file folder. So we're just going to go through and jump those in. As you can see, nice and easy, quick, got all 4 of them in there. We didn't have to load them in one by one, which is amazing. Cool. So that there is your aggregates kind of, or your bulk uploading of the different files that you need. You can do this even if you just need to kind of go and do the normal resource cert, all of that kind of stuff. So whenever you click to go and upload a folder, a file, you'll be able to choose more than one if you need to. Awesome. Okay, now from here, we also might want to associate things to certain training and things like that. We might, for example, another thing with that user group, we might have multiple users who need to have the same training. So a really good use case here would be our equipment operations. I know that a lot of you might have a group of people in the company who are like forklift certified, or they've got a certain certification to be able to actually operate a certain piece of equipment. So a lot of you have started to use user groups already to be able to assign, okay, these people are the only ones who can be using forklifts. So they're the only ones who get forklift checklists or any kind of inspection form for the equipment they are certified to use. But now that we actually want to get those certifications also into the system, we can start to create this where we have maybe this forklift certification is the one document that I need to share with multiple people. So I've now uploaded just the forklift certification that everyone's received, or any document that people have received. And then what I can do from here is now go and assign it to the people. So I'm going to go to set assignment. We can go type. Of course, this is going to go to people. And this is where I would choose my user group of, where is it? Down the bottom, forklift operators. So now anyone who is in the user group of the forklift operators, because we know that they've earned their certificate, we know that they've gone and been assigned that from the admin, also from the user side of things, we can then assign the certificate to them as well. Now this by default will show you that it's assigned to the forklift operators team. And the beauty of this is when the team now jump into the mobile, I'll just quickly give my phone a little refresh so I can see, because I know my user is a forklift operator. So I'll give that a refresh quickly, jump into the resources, and then you'll be able to have there that the certificates under their name. Where is my name? Sorry, bear with. Users. If we jump into those users, they can see now under their record that they've got that forklift certification. I know that Josh also has that certification, or that user group. So if I looked into Josh, for example, we can see that that forklift certification is also automatically assigned to Josh. So really quick way for you guys to just be able to go, okay, these are the people that all need to receive this one resource. Let's pop the user group to their name first under the team and users section, which is through here, and then go from the resources and just go and assign it. Super simple. So awesome stuff. Now we can start to get that training across the board, assigned to people much easier, which is so great. And then start to kind of get everyone in the right place and organized beautifully. Great. Now, if we did want to move anything around as well, say, for example, I jumped into my toolbox topics here. You can see that I've got my English versions of all the toolbox topics as a subfolder and my Spanish ones, because I know a lot of our US clients, you guys have a lot of Spanish requirements. So we've got all of those kind of catered to. But if you guys, anyone even in New Zealand or Canada, anyone really who has different types of folders and things that they want to move things through to, you by all means can. So I've got here my toolbox topic that is just a resource, it's a PDF, but we can see it's in English. So what I'm going to do is just drag and drop it into my English toolbox topics, and it's going to now move away. So it's in that folder. So just like any kind of shared drive, you can just drag and drop things around now. It's going to be much easier to put things in the right places and not have to worry about where it's kind of sitting or how do we search for it and all that kind of good stuff. Awesome. So that is pretty much the gist of creating all your folders, putting in the files, moving bulk ones into the files, into the folders, and all that kind of good stuff. Now, how do we kind of filter on this? How can we use this page to see specific lists of documents we need? Firstly, of course, we can use the general search of the keywords. Right now, because I'm associated to or in this toolbox topics folder, it is associating the search by the toolbox topics. But if I just wanted to search the whole list in general, you can just exit out of that folder option and just see and search everything. So in this case, what I might want to do if I'm looking for my first aid certificates, I would just search up first aid, click enter so that you can kind of get that all searched for. And then you'll see anything that's related to first aid start to pop up in here. So anything that mentions first aid or kind of has first aid related stuff being pulled through in the name of the form of the document or even within the document, that's what's going to come up for you here. From here, you can, of course, set different date ranges as well. So if we want to look at certain expiry dates, so ones that have expired maybe in the last 7 days or the next 7 days that are expiring, the next, 6 months that are expiring, already have expired, or even if you want to set a custom range, same thing with anything updated. So if we've updated any documents in the last so on many days, years, months, whatever, same with created and then also issued. So definitely select which one applies to you the most and then kind of set your date ranges based on that and what you're kind of looking for. Moving across, we've got certifications. So this is really if you want to get a list of just certificates. So for example, here, I've pulled through first aid, but we know that we don't need like MSDS sheets to show up here or these toolbox topics. So what I might do is just say only show certificates. And then it's only going to give me the first aid certificates because that's what I filtered down to and got in my view. Now, additionally, we can also jump in and get even deeper with our filters now, which is amazing. So jumping into more filters, we've got things like who we have assigned things to. If you need to see those specific documents based on assignment, if you need to see documents based on their actual file type now, that's another amazing thing, what we can do. And then also things like approval status. So if we know that it's got some kind of approval things put to it like that, and then also if it's shared with certain subcontractors, we can also start to show just the ones that we've actually shared with them compared to what we maybe don't want to share with the subcontractors. Cool. Within this, of course, you can, of course, reset everything. So if I start to assign certain things and I've just got too many assigned, to untick them all, just click reset. It'll pop it all back to normal and you can go from scratch. Awesome. Again, click on that clear all if you also need to just clean all these filters. For example, if I want to remove all of the ones I've set already, you can just kind of change that as needed. Awesome. So that is your filtering and viewing what we want to see in this list that we're kind of witnessing here. Now, how about when we want to export it? I know a lot of you really love the idea of being able to get out like a register of all the team's training, for example. So what you might want to do is go into your more filters. You might want to go in and do it based on assignment of users, apply that so that you can just see all of the resources that are loaded against users. We might also specifically only want to look at certificates because that'll be generally quite training specific. So now we're getting a really curated list of all the users' certificates specifically. Now with this, we have obviously got a few columns that are showing up. So things like the file size, we've got the location here, we've got expiry date coming up and also approval status and all that good stuff. But say you want to change this. A lot of you have come through with some feedback saying, hey, we really want to be able to like export the list, but we want to have the columns kind of custom to what we want. So what you can do now, which is amazing, is you can click on this gear icon. And this is where you can start to change and adjust which columns are actually going to show. This is purely just if you want to see different columns for a viewing purpose, but also this is going to have affect whether we want to export certain columns. So say I don't really actually need to see who it's shared with or if it's approved. I don't need to see the file size. I just want to see who it's assigned to, what expiry date there is, maybe if there's a link attached to it as well, and who it was kind of created by maybe. So those might be the few things I want to see. When I click on that, you'll see it now starts to change what is actually showing here. So one, I can see it's different just so I can kind of now navigate through the ones, all the bits of information that are important to me. And then of course from here, now when we click on this menu option in the right, we can also download this as a CSV. And what that's going to do is pop this exact table that you've got here with all these exact columns into a spreadsheet for you. So you can start to take that externally and almost have it as like a register of all of the team's training and their documents that are current as of the time that you exported it. So definitely start to do that. That was just a training example, but you of course can start to export any kind of list you start to gather. So use those filters, find the different folders that you're wanting to look into, and then get that list of information you need to maybe export to someone if you need to. Great. Okay, cool. Well, that is pretty much the gist of our setting up of them. And then also, of course, getting everything out if you need to get certain types of documents exported. Now, how does it really look for the team on the mobile side of things? I've shown you a little bit in relation to how that user group association happens and the forklift kind of comes through to different users when we put that user group to it. But when the team are jumping into the mobile, of course, we want to go into the menu first to see the resources tab. Now, I know a lot of you sometimes get your team to just do the baseline of filling out forms, but it is really good to see this because you can jump into the menu and show them how they can actually start to see additional things like your resources or even save forms and other things in the system too. So on the resource front, this is what they'll see when they jump into the resources tab. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see that now. So first off, by default, they will see the whole list of all the resources, which is what we can see here. They can, of course, come in here and search certain things if they need to. So by all means, if I did safe work procedures, I'll see some safe work method statements and things like that coming through. If I've got some here, whereas the other ones, yes, safe work procedure, bench grinder. If I need to see that, I can click on it and open it up. So that's pretty normal to what we used to be able to do as well. But the cool thing now is the team can jump into Explore and they can actually find different resources based on the folders. So if I take that filter away, you'll see that there's a heap of different folders based on the folders that you've set up on the admin console. They can start to jump into it. So I can say, okay, let's jump into the swims and JSAs. Great, here's all of our swims and JSAs that we need to be aware of. If they want to then go and favorite anything, of course, that will show up in their favorites column. So for example, if I clicked on this swims, I'm looking at the swims and I'll just click on the love heart to favorite it. And if we go back across, you'll see under my favorites, now we've got those swims showing up as well. So super handy. Additionally, we have the sites option now. So this is really handy if our site that we're actually on at the moment, so the one we had pre-selected in the home screen, is going to show any documents that are specific to that site. So I'm on the bungalow renovation right now on my app, and I can see that there's an emergency plan for this one, and I've got that swims or safe work method statement attached to it as well. So really cool. I'll click into maybe my emergency plan. You can actually get a bit of a preview now from the mobile, which is something we definitely didn't have before. So the team can almost kind of see it offline before they actually have to view the file and see everything fully. So yeah, clicking on view file, of course, that'll still do what it used to do, where it would pop up and actually open that resource for them on their phone. But yeah, definitely we can start to see a bit of a preview beforehand if we need to. Additionally, this has got a bit of an improvement of the visuals of it. It's just much more aesthetically appealing, I think. But definitely you can start to see things like the location it's actually associated to. We can start to see file size, when it was last updated, and all that kind of good stuff as well. So by all means, definitely get the team looking at those different resources from the mobile. And then the additional thing we've added is the certificates. Now, this is really handy to have associated to the team, because this will show them the certificates that are assigned to them. I haven't got any associated to me, but you'll be able to start to see some that will show up there if you've got ones attached to your name. So a little bit of a change for the team in the mobile, but not as much as the admin console. So definitely do just kind of keep that in mind, that they've got a few more things they can start to filter through. But most of it is really setup related, so that you guys can really jump in and get your hands into the organization of your resources for your health and safety. Cool. That is pretty much the gist of all of the things that we can see changing with the resources. Please do pop all of your questions that you have got for me into the Q&A or anything like that. Josh will be answering away already. But first, before we get into the Q&A, I do just want to dive into a few things you need to consider now that we've had this change happen. I've mentioned a few of them already, but first off, we do want to utilize those filters and the settings of the resources to be able to set apart the fact that we've got certificates and documents now together. And then we've just got that option now within the setting up of a resource to say whether it is just a document or if it's actually a certificate that has expiry dates and all that kind of stuff to keep track of. Additionally, you would have all, before we had this change, set everything up with categories to it. So all of your different resources were in one big list and they had different category associations. So some of you might have put it under training or mobile equipment or category 1, for example. And that is now going to be flipped into the resources folders. So you'll start to see, maybe from today or whenever you jump into your account, the folders that, or the categories you previously had assigned to documents, will now show up as folders with the same name as what the category used to be. So by all means, you might want to just jump in there and have a bit of a cleanup of the category names now and be able to customize them, or even just remove some folders or drag and drop some files into the right folders so that you know it's all actually done properly now. But yes, that's something to just keep in mind, and definitely a little next step or next item to check in your account so it's all cleaned up. Additionally, we also want to make sure that the assignments of the documents are all done correctly, whether it needs to be now assigned a user group because you know there's multiple people with that one document, or if you've got specific equipment that'll have certain types of assignment to certain equipments and things like that. So by all means, do just jump in and make sure the assignments are correct to sites, users, equipment, subcontractors. Additionally, we've also got the uploading. An assignment can now all be done in the one place. So do keep in mind that you can just go to the resources tab to do anything resource associated. You don't have to now go into the users and the equipment and the sites to load in their resources. You, of course, can if you want to. It's still available, but now you have the ease of just being able to go to the resources tab if you need to. Lastly, like I mentioned at the end there, just do curate those columns so that you, one, can see the visual kind of features or stats and data that you need to, and secondly, so that you can export that information to CSV with the correct columns that you're wanting.